video, I will give you my top tips for photographing from a helicopter as I share what it's like to fly over the beautiful Okavango Delta. Make sure you stick around until the end as I share some of my favorite images taken from the air. I've just returned from an amazing 4-night stay in the Okavango Delta, where we were treated to some incredible sightings. One of the highlights from the trip was a helicopter scenic flight. I want to share some tips to photographing from a helicopter. If you have any questions, make sure to comment below. While we're waiting for the helicopter, I use this time to make sure I have the correct settings in camera. As the helicopter is nearly always moving, as well as some of your subjects, I make sure I have a fast shutter speed. If it is a low light condition, you can get away with about 1/1000th of a second shutter speed, but I prefer to shoot at 1/2000th of a second if light allows. This makes sure that any movements of your subject, but more importantly, any movements from the helicopter, doesn't leave you with blurry images. As we're shooting directly down, an aperture from the widest to around f8 works perfectly. As the subject is a decent distance away and the scene flat, you shouldn't need more than this. Because your light conditions are always changing, I choose to have my ISO on auto, letting it adjust accordingly. To deal with the ever-changing lighting on each subject, I use my exposure compensation to dial in the right exposure depending on the style of shot I'm hoping to get. It is very important to make sure you have a large memory card in your camera and a fully charged battery. It is not only difficult to change these mid-flight, you can risk losing them due to the wind. I find that I always take more pictures than I expect. When doing a scenic flight over the Delta, we're able to remove the doors of the helicopter, making for a perfect platform to capture wildlife and scenery. When shooting with the doors off, the wind can be very strong, especially if you're leaning out. I suggest removing your lens hood. Not only does this help reduce the drag, making it easier to capture images, it also helps with vibrations that could interfere with the stabilization system of your camera and potentially affecting image quality. When shooting from a helicopter over the Okavango Delta, I personally believe having a range between 24 and 400 mm covers all bases. Most wildlife images will be taken from 70 to 400 mm as you fly relatively high over the subjects in order not to disturb them. But the landscape is truly breathtaking, and sometimes you do need a wider angle lens to capture the scene. My personal go-to setup is a 70 to 200 or 100 to 400 mm lens on my main camera for shooting wildlife, and a 24 to 105 or maybe a 24 to 70 mm lens attached to my second camera for the landscape shots. You can always take a phone or action camera just in case you want to shoot some video. This could also be a replacement for the wider angle lens if you don't want to take two cameras. Just remember that there is limited space in the helicopter. When in the air, the helicopter pilot will help you spot animals and get you in the perfect position to capture them. Through a headset, you are also able to talk to the pilot to make sure you're in the right height and angle to get the perfect shot.
We usually stay around 500 feet most of the flight. Sometimes we will go up to 1000 feet, just to give you guys a bit of an overview from the area. We will see what we can find. The moment we see any disturbance of the animals, you'll maybe see me, I'll go a little bit further away or turn away, just to make sure they keep what they're doing. If we see animals hunting or something, we won't get close to them neither. Just to same story, we won't interfere with that. And other than that, I would just say, if you see something that maybe missed out, just give a shoot. And we can shoot back, fly around, go higher, lower, faster, slower. We are quite flexible.
As photographers, we always get caught up in wanting to capture as much as possible. But just remember to also enjoy the moment and take it all in. The Okavango Delta has to be experienced from the air. From the elevated vantage point, you are able to see how this intricate and unique ecosystem works and really take in the remote nature of your visit. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helps any questions you may have about photographing from a helicopter. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to join the pangolin community so you don't miss out on future content. See you next time.